And welcome to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. You can listen to us anywhere where you find your podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review, all those other awesome engagement functions you can do for us in the show. Really appreciate it on any of the platforms we're on. Smash all those like buttons, subscribe, all that jazz. You can follow me, Chris Maz, on social media platforms at CFMAZ and Shawnee V at SV The Don NHL and on YouTube at Step Brother Sports. We're also joined by friend of the show and recurring fill-in host, Carl Eppers. Welcome back, Carl. How are things?
What's up, team? Doing great. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday indeed. Just midday, probably middle of the workday for many people. But figured we'd chat some Sabres draft free agent needs. And also there's a little something that happened yesterday. So we're coming to you on June 27th for, like I was saying before, special bonus pod, special live show again on day of round one of the NHL draft. Sabres have been, let's just say, a big part of the NHL chatter because there was a trade yesterday, like we said. JJ Peterka goes to the Utah Mammoth for Michael Kesselring, a right-handed defenseman, and forward Josh Doan, son of the well-known Shane Doan, who had a prolific career of over 1,500 games in the NHL. And lots of commentary came from that yesterday. Mostly negative because of so many on, let's just say, Sabres social media wanted more of a return. I mean, I think we could all agree, rightfully so, just besides those two players coming from Utah. But after taking kind of like a day plus to look at it in a vacuum, let's kind of take a look and revisit it. So, gentlemen, what are your initial takes on the trade so far? Carl, we'll start you off.
Yeah. My initial reaction was excitement. I thought it was great because it seemed like we were filling the need of a right shot defenseman, potential partner for Owen Power, a guy that on the forward line that can get in front of the net and be a little mean, be a pest. So, it's like you look at that and you're, well, that's what we wanted. That's what everybody's been asking for. So that's super exciting. And in retrospective, I thought the people that were like team keep Peterka or nothing was kind of like a crazy thought. This guy is a trade chip. He's an asset that we could use, and they ended up using him. Then looking under the hood and hearing what everybody else has to say, like I think there's definitely some validity around it being an overpay, and that was maybe frankly my 1B reaction was, hey, this is probably too much. Even just looking at the ice time what is it? Sneaky Joe DiBiase, he's pretty pissed off about it, and he's like telling everybody about the ice time, and that's valid. It's accurate. Like if there's a guy that's
he was like 17 and a half minutes average ice time per night.
Yeah, what was he saying? Like fifth or sixth most ice time out of the defenseman, something like that. So if that means he's the fifth or sixth defenseman on a team that's like, worse than the Sabres, that's not a great thing. So there's definitely like a little sprinkles of, I hope this guy turns out well, in with the return and the trade. And then, just thinking about it more, I was like, I would be able to swallow it more if the guys were more established veterans. It feels like we just kind of maintained our youth. If anything, got two guys back that are really young. But we're also at a point here where we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres. We need to take what we can get, and hopefully it means that there's extra $5 million that we can spend in a variety of different ways. I had some thoughts and parallels with like the Connor Clifton signing. Connor Clifton was kind of a fifth, sixth, and then we paid him like a fourth and expected him to grow into the role, and he didn't. Like he had kind of those elements of being a hitter and grittier that we wanted to see, and then that frankly just didn't pan out. So hopefully this is a similar concept that plays itself out in a more meaningful way for the Buffalo Sabres. But overall, pretty cool looking at these guys. Shane Doan's son, that's pretty awesome. And I don't know, I don't want to dominate the time here. Obviously got a few more thoughts on it, but I think ultimately it's wait and see. We need to fill in some offensive pieces. We probably need more experience on offense and defense still. So there's needs that need to get filled. Hopefully this is just like the domino that pieces in there, and kind of hoping that maybe overpay for these type of unique players is justified in the long run.
I think that's a pretty solid take, Carl. So, Sean, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, happy to report we are live on IG right now.
Yeah,
just figured it out, Carl.
About time. All right.
Thank you, Carl, for giving me some time to get the IG up and running that we've been trying to do for probably 3 or 4 episodes now.
Happy to buy you some time.
Yeah, man. It's weird. So Chris Maz, I was trying to do it, and for once, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm logged into our other StreamYard account right now, it gave me the option of adding the stream key. And then Perfect. It took me right to Instagram. So whatever. So we're live on all platforms right now. YouTube.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take
Instagram. Love it. But yeah, it was interesting. Initially, I think like a lot of media members for the most part and fans, I was a little underwhelmed. I mean, when I first heard that the trade broke and that we were trading JJ, I just kind of was assuming that we were going to get some kind of scorer back. And now after kind of digesting the move, 24 plus hours later, and I was the first one in the chat, with Dwayne and the boys and girls, to kind of post the highlight videos of both players. And granted, those were just their goals that they scored last season. I mean, he's a great defenseman, man. Like, he's going to be like Carl alluded to, he looks like an absolutely perfect partner and fits age-wise, skill set, size, like everything that they need, that they've been looking for a partner to really unlock Owen Power. I think that's what they're getting with Kess, man. And I've dubbed him Kess, by the way. I'm sure you noticed that yesterday in the chat. The guy's 6'5", 225. He scored 7 goals last year. He skates like the wind. He hits. He'll drop the gloves. He's a right shot D that they just haven't had. Like, he's a guy, I think, when all the other, national pundits came out and started talking about the return and some of these alleged packages that might have been available for JJ, whether it be Marco Rossi as a centerpiece of a deal, a smaller size, center scoring forward, whether it be a team that allegedly offered 2 first-round picks plus some roster players, whatever it is, man. Obviously, Kevin Adams and Kekalainen must have had their thoughts and hearts really set out to get a solid top 4 type of defender who can play with Owen Power. And Kess seems like just an amazing fit. Really, everything that they're looking for. And he showed when Sergachev went out for Utah last year, he was able to step up and QB one of their power play units. So this is a guy that I think, even if, and this is going to kind of bring my point full circle, I think the next corresponding move is for them to ship out Bo Byram, more than likely, to directly go get a top 6 scoring forward to replace JJ. I think this is the deal they had to make to secure Owen Power's partner. Yep. And I would expect to see that next move, the next foot to drop, to bring in that forward. But I think from a fit standpoint, and let's not sleep on Josh Doan, a guy I texted you guys right before we went on. Happened to have 2 of his rookie cards that were hiding in my card collection. Nice jersey card nonetheless.
Meant to be now. It was meant to be.
That's the last year they were the
Coyotes.
The Coyotes. So that's a pretty cool card, like, in and of itself. But now that he's a Sabre, that's even better.
Dude, it's even better. And the one thing that I've talked a lot about Kess, but with Josh Doan, the one thing, I mean, it was interesting to kind of see. I mean, granted, they both scored 7 goals last year in the NHL, which is kind of ironic. Roommates, they're going to be roommates in Buffalo, helping the transition, coming here to a new city, new part of the country. Although I know Kess is actually he said he's from the Northeast. I believe he's from Mass or New Hampshire, one or the other. But when you looked at the highlights of Doan, he had and I highlighted this for you guys against Carolina last year. He had an amazing keep in, like at the blue line. He took a couple skates in, toe dragged the defender, and then rifled a shot over the goalie's glove, I believe it was, or it might have been short side. I don't remember, but short side. He amazing release, and he showed you that he has that in his game. And then all the rest of his goals were him standing in the blue paint, tipping pucks and getting rebounds and going to that tough area. The Sabres, don't get it twisted. They're going after, trying to be a tougher team to play against, tougher in the corners, going to the hard areas, clearing out the net in one case, crashing the net in the other, from both players' perspective. So this is really something that it's going to change the complexion of the team. And having two guys that, based on their interviews that the media did with them yesterday, good guys that are excited to come in, getting a fresh start with elevated roles, mind you, with the Sabres. So I actually think the more time that's gone on, the happier I am with the return. And don't forget, and I believe it was, I forget who said it yesterday, but you have to remember with JJ, they had to find a team to trade JJ to that could fit him in with their cap. 5 years isn't a long, it's a fairly long time. It's not seven-year deal, but they had to find a team that could pay him also. So that limits your choices. So I think it's a good trade, man.
Yeah. And I before passing it over to Maz, there's something that just came to mind. Both these guys played with Tage Thompson, and they all seem to be buddies with him. So,
they want to go medal, Carl.
Yeah.
By the way.
The camaraderie is already there.
Together. Yeah, exactly. So I what's that message and what does that say about their status and what they think about Tage Thompson as well? Like, that has to be part of the decision-making process and how they feel like they're going to be in the locker room, how they're making their top guy happy, like all that stuff. So
and Tage himself even had a statement yesterday saying like how he was really excited to have the guys on, and even mentioned, like you were saying, Carl, just all their times on Team USA, as well as just going back at their training days back in Arizona as well, because Tage grew up in Arizona. So putting in a vacuum, if you just take just the two pieces that they got there, like they are good additions, but I think everybody's of the mindset, like, say, hey, if there was maybe like a pick swap involved of maybe with 4 and 9, that would have been maybe like the sweetener of the pot, where I think more people would have been accepting of the trade. Again, I'm going to try and give a little bit more of a glass half full approach there. If I'm looking at just Kesselring again, I posted this yesterday on my Twitter account. So Kesselring himself, one of the fastest skaters. We just got another fast skater last year in Ryan McLeod, obviously looking to re-sign him again on his restricted free agency contract there. But he is in the 96th percentile, Kesselring, for skating speed. He, on average, reached at times of his top speed, like almost 23 miles per hour on skates. I made like a little joke on Star Wars saying, like, if Kesselring can do some Kessel runs, we'll be in some good shape here. Just because, again, if you could skate like the Millennium Falcon, hey, we'll be okay with that as long as you're able to provide some little extra forecheck on there. But overall, like, if we're looking at it in a vacuum, I think the pieces they got can be beneficial to the Sabres. But again, everybody wanted a little bit more out of that, whether it was just like another pick and draft compensation of some kind. I'm with most of the Sabre fandom, Saberhood there, saying like, hey, wish we got a little bit more. But like you were saying, both Sean and Carl, you wonder what the next move is on here, because Bowen Byram trade chatter has been going on all along these last weeks and months, ever since you even heard that he moved all of the stuff out of his apartment. And it's been rampant, just all the rumors, whether it's Frank Saravelli, you even hear Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts this morning saying, while trade talks are there, they've kind of softened up a bit, but there's also just a lot of places where he might potentially go. So at this point, Sean, I'll start off with you. Where would you like to maybe see a Bowen Byram trade go? And then I'll kind of give my thoughts on that afterwards.
Yes, I've been outspoken about this on the chat. And just one quick thing just to wrap up about Kess real quick. You mentioned his speed. Like, not only is he one of the strongest skating defenders in the league, but when he talked about it in his introductory press conference with the media yesterday, he can keep up with Dahlin in power. Like, he might be just as good of a skater. Maybe a notch below Dahlin. But he's going to be able to keep up with them. So I think you have 3 really swift skaters. And Byram's in that same vein. So as they now look to move Byram, you're basically gaining a guy that could equate to being your number 3 defenseman. I think that's where he's going to be penciled in if they ship out Bo. But to answer your question, I've been outspoken about this. There's two trades that I would really like to see. And I even thought more about this yesterday after hearing I mentioned some of the trade packages that allegedly were, presented to the Sabres. And I thought about Jordan Kyrou. And when I started thinking about his age, and if you just ask me like straight up, Kyrou for JJ, is that a fair trade? I'm saying yes, production wise. Kyrou is definitely a more proven player. Maybe a slightly better upside offensively than JJ, but we'll have to see how that shakes out. But when you factor in the salary, Kyrou is, I believe, slightly over 8, so making more money, but he's 29. JJ being 23. So in a sense, I'm glad they didn't make that move. And furthermore, I want to shy away from any like veterans. Even like I know we talked about Nikolai Ehlers, and he may be available in free agency. He's looking like he's going to test the market, so he's told the Jets organization. I just don't want to sign somebody for at long term that's up there in age. Like I don't want to be stuck with an aging contract like some contract like a Skinner contract where you get the guy in their prime, but then several years down the road it's not aging well. So there's that. So to say all that, I'd really like them to go after some up and coming young players that are just entering prime. I'd like to see Bo go to the Kings straight up, maybe for Quentin Byfield, a large human, a large center that can score. He's a power forward. He can play the PP, with him and Tage on both flanks. Dude, imagine how sick that would be. Them guys taking the puck to the net, ripping slap shots, and just being big. You know what I mean? So that's probably my number 1. And then number 2, I actually saw a potential a trade outline. I don't know who threw this out there, but obviously for Elias Pettersson, a guy that his value is probably as low as it's ever going to be right now, factoring in that he probably bounces back and that last year was a bit of an anomaly throughout his career. And to this point, you have to kind of assume that it is and that he wants out. Maybe similar to JJ. There's the whispers that have been there. The only thing with him is, and both those guys give you a legit number 1 center to insulate a oft-injured Josh Norris and an up-and-comer in Kulik. But it's just like I don't want to trade Byram, a prospect, and multiple picks. I don't think that's not Peterson's value right now. If it's
I would agree on that. He would be my top choice, honestly, right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to give 4 quality assets up for him. They shouldn't have to, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl, what are your thoughts on that as far as maybe a potential Byram trade? I know Brian Rust has also been speculated to be maybe part of a Byram deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, going back to maybe the recap I had of the trade we just had, like the needs that we now have are now forward, potentially like middle defense. Like if Byram's going to be gone, and frankly, Cass isn't a proven third defenseman. Like we need something in there to help fill the gaps, and we need experience. So yeah, where I would veer from Sean's take is I'm cool with some more experience, like even like some 30-year-old. I don't have names on top of the head to offer here, and obviously there's the issue of whether or not they have some trade protection clauses, whatever. But Kyrou's 27, so that's like pretty good. I think Pettersson's like mid to late 20s, and I think he would be awesome. He's certainly got the star power, and to your point, I don't think we should overpay, and you have to factor in like he's got a huge contract, so that kind of brings down what we need to send. But yeah, I need to see some experience come back for a room in a team that is so young. They're probably just learning that cereal's not a dinner, right? Like we just brought in a guy, Kess, that's 25, and he's now a veteran. Like that's not going to cut it.
I think I saw Joe Marino of the formerly of the Charging Buffalo. He posted out, I think, an average age like counter. I think now the Sabres are the third youngest team, only by like a half a percentage point. Yeah, so moving up a little bit, but yeah, I agree. Like making sure they have some type of level of nutrition at home, Carl, I think would be kind of beneficial for these kids at this point in time.
Yeah. It's like I know Hervé said something about Peterka being out at 4 a.m. Slinging drinks or something like that, and I'm like, that's not a good look. But the dude's 22. Like you got to kind of expect here or there that, especially he was basically the man. He was basically the man on the wing, like him and Tuck. The guy needs more leadership and he needs to age a little bit more. I don't think it's like a huge black eye for him to be out behind a bar buying some people some drinks. Like I've done worse at the age of 22 for sure.
I think we all have at some point in time. I mean, with that also, like you heard that argument, I think, from Rivet as well. And I think my takeaway from that was the guys from when they played, like when they went out, like, yes, they had a good time. They kept it in check, but they also had like the play on the ice to back up what they were doing at the same time. So in retrospect, like you could see both sides of the coin. Like obviously alcohol shouldn't be a way to drown everybody's sorrows at all times, but at the same time, like time and a place. I mean, and I'm sure Craig Rivet had, I remember him saying that he didn't really want to like share that entirely, but the fact that he was willing to share it showed that like that was probably something that the team did not really enjoy, that they kept hearing over and over again, that he's out and about. But like we also said, conversely, he's just 22, 23-year-old kid. Like, what can you expect at certain points in time? So
yeah, and like the season was over so early for these guys. Like if I'm putting myself in their shoes and they're like, oh my God, like I can't even get anywhere. Like I definitely appreciate the attitude. Like, hey, if we're winning, we're having fun, like doesn't matter. But like at some point, holy smokes, like it's got to be tough for these guys. And if he's like, hey man, I'm just gonna go out tonight, like I don't know if I can blame him all that much. And I don't think that's really like, if you're a GM trading for him or a GM that wants to keep him, like he's gonna change in 2-3 years. Like that's not, I don't know, in my opinion, that's like a half a strike, one strike. But in any event, just my
just
thoughts.
Don't be out till 4 a.m. if you have like a game or like practice in the morning. That's all.
Time and place, right time, right place. That's all it needs to be.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Just to kind of move on, though, obviously, Bowen Byram, like a lot of people speculate he might be traded as at some point by the end of the day today. Hey, maybe we'll see a draft day trade. I think that will add a little bit of a spice and excitement to it. But obviously, there's still a couple other loose ends on the team as well. Just while we still have you guys on for a bit, just for this little mid-workday chat. Samuelsson, obviously, he drew the ire of everybody, just being what Kevin Adams thought was the reason why everybody should feel bad for the Sabres, because of all the quote unquote misinformation being out there for the supposed buyout, or maybe just something that Adams himself didn't even want to admit for himself. We'll keep our thoughts. I'm sure plenty have already had on that press conference already. Just another eye roll to say the least. But I mean, I saw Matt Beauvais of Channel 7 in Buffalo. He had basically just like more or less a cap dump trade going out to, I think he had Samuelsson go to San Jose for a 7th round pick, but then in that case, they'd take the entire salary on. I mean, I would be willing to just trade him anywhere. We've had countless guests on these last few weeks, whether it was Derek Kramer, Rachel Lindsay, and even just in conversations now, just saying like, just find a way to get rid of Samuelsson. I mean, me personally, just based on like, again, the hit alone on what happened to Tage against New Jersey last year, and just the lack of reaction. I mean, that just goes to show you like what he's thought of in the locker room and among the fan base at this point. So, I mean, what would you guys want to try and consider to get for Samuelsson at this point? Because again, we can give a lot of faults for Kevin Adams, but we also have to remember, again, he did get a 1st round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen when obviously he's just kind of rotting away on Philadelphia's roster.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say this. A shout out to cousin Mark Lonzak, who thinks in his mind that we'll be able to get a 2nd rounder.
Hey, dream big. Dream big.
I would love it. I'd be happy. I mean, he was a high 2nd round pick.
He was.
I would be shocked if we were able to get a 2nd for him. But I'm at the point, I've said it just like how you just mentioned. I would take any player and a player swap, a bad contract swap to an extent, because I do think this is a good opportunity, especially if they are going to go after someone like Pedersen and we have guys to sign. McLeod's probably going to get $5 million a year as an RFA. So I would love to be able to just trade him, even for like in baseball, like future player to be named later or future considerations. If we can't get anybody, if it has to be a bad swap, at least shed some salary in that trade. But yeah, I would definitely take a 7th round pick to get him off the roster. At this point, I think his use is so limited against the value he has compared to his cap hit of $4+ million. Like it would be a great move to just get him off the roster. You have our pipeline on defense is pretty good. I listened yesterday to Baker Fairburn, and they were kind of just re-going over how the pipeline looks, both on right shot and left shot D coming up. Obviously, they moved up to get Kleber last season, and I think if they hold step and use the pick at 9, I have a funny feeling they're going to go defense again, just based on all the guys that are supposed to go, between 1 and 8. But that being said, yeah, find a way to shed his salary if you can. That's going to be a net positive, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Carl, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say anything's on the table. I mean, I think it's idiocy for Adams to believe that buying out's off the table is probably posturing for trades, right? Like he's building his value and then telling people like, no friggin' way would you do that. But and I'm not even team buyout Samuelson. I just think anything should be on the table for this guy. And if you can find an opportunity to use the delta between the buyout cost and Samuelson's salary, and you're going to put it towards something, then, that should be part of the equation.
Especially with a rising salary cap these next few years too.
Yeah. I still I don't like that money. I don't like, maybe this is just my own personal philosophy on cash management, but I just think buyouts are tough, and I think it was really hard to look at like Billy Lanos and Cody Hodgkins,
and now Skinner.
Now Skinner, like just by having experienced that in the past, it's ugly. But in any event, if we do that, we also need to get something back. Like we can't rely on Bryson.
He's 7th or 8th paired, 7th or 8th guy on defense at best.
Like even if you were to tell me going to next season, we plug some holes and Samuelson's still on the team, but he's like the 6th or 7th defenseman, like I might be okay with that. I might be like, fine, like, okay, you figured it out. We don't need the $3-4 million in cap. Like you figured it out, and he can plug in and maybe take some pressure off, Kess and all that. Like I would be okay with that. I don't see a world where that actually happens, but because we have, now Bryson and everybody, but we're going to need defensemen to plug in and take pressure off, our top guys, especially if Bo Byram's also gone. So, a non-committal answer, but everything should be on the table for Samuelson. And whether that's him on the team in a lesser role and we begrudgingly keep him, to trading him for 7th, I'm cool with that. If Adams is shooting for something better, awesome. Like that would be really cool. I'd say if somebody's offering a 4th, I think you'd take that all day. Or buyout, assuming you're using that money. I'm cool with anything and everything. I'm not excited about Samuelson, but at some point we do need bodies and guys that can technically play in the NHL.
Hey, fair and valid point all across there. But since it is obviously day 1 of the NHL draft for round 1, that's going to take place at 7 p.m. tonight. Obviously, there's been several names linked to the Sabres as far as draft talk has gone. Now we could talk whether we're team trade the pick or keep the pick in just a moment, but a few names commonly linked to the Sabres, just as far as like what we've seen, whether it's from the Athletic, just from what you're reading on socials at this point. But I've seen James Hagens. He needs to fall a little bit in the draft in order for this one to happen. But he's a center, 5'10", Another common one, Roger McQueen, another centerman right here, a larger one, 6'5". He's coming off some back injury concerns, which might make people think a little bit more hesitant to draft him at this point in time. But I've seen him falling in a few mock drafts as well. But as far as like medical concerns have gone, like he's gotten like a green light to be able to play and train, go back to junior hockey at this point in time. Winger I saw for one that would be mocked to the Sabres, Porter Martone. I think that was one of the more recent athletic mock drafts that came out. He's a right wing, 6'2". So again, I'm seeing a common theme here is like these guys are all bigger than what some of these players that they've gotten in the past are. But my preferred choice, speaking of defensemen again, who hopefully can play, is Radim Murtka, a defenseman, right-handed D-man, mind you, from Czechia, 6'5". So already these are large humans, like what some players that we want to hopefully see on the ice and do some good, be physical out there as well as being able to drive some play. And the last one I saw was kind of maybe somebody that could be around the Sabres draft spot at 9, again, if they decide to keep it. Jake O'Brien, another centerman, because I feel like you can't have enough of them just because they can be so versatile, whether you can keep them at center or and go either the wing spots. But again, me personally, I would go with Murtka because he is, again, a right-handed D-man. He's a large human. I think he's met with the Sabres multiple times and also at the Combine that was a couple weeks ago. So I'll start things off. Sean, just while we are still having you guys here before we head out. Sean, what's your quick take on the draft tonight? Are you team keep the pick or trade it, first of all? And then if you are keep the pick, who would you like to see?
Yeah, I'm right with you. I mean, based on the research that I've done myself, number one seems to be a slam dunk pick in Matthew Schaefer, who's the obviously consensus number one player. He's a defenseman. But in everything that I've seen, you have a mix of forwards that, depending on which publication or expert that you look at, can go anywhere from 2 to 10. There seems to be like a mix, and the order is pretty jumbled up. But I say that because consensus, picks 2 through about 8 are mainly all forwards, either centers or wing for the most part. So I think it's interesting just based on the Sabres' needs. Like I said, or you kind of reiterated what I initially said with Radim Murtka. I think he'd be a good fit. He's obviously a big guy. He's 6'6", right-handed, like you said. I think he'd be a good fit. So that'd be like my 1B choice, would be to have him. I do like McQueen a lot as well. I saw him going to 10, like basically us passing and then him getting immediately selected by Anaheim. But then you have the issue of he had a fairly significant back injury, like you mentioned. So, but if he's a guy that you really like, he's fallen down the boards just because of injury, not because of his play or ability. I think you would consider him. And if your doctors give you that green light and he has a clean bill of health and you think moving forward, he'll be good, I could see him being in consideration there too. But I think for my 1A choice is to trade the pick and trade it for immediate help right now on the NHL roster. The Sabres need to make the playoffs. The regime, at least Kevin Adams as the GM, is basically going to be fighting for his job with this season. And if they come out flat, I think in the first quarter or half of the season, I could see them making the trade and maybe not firing him, but moving him into whatever role, whatever is going to end up happening, the contingency plan with Kekalainen. I just think the Sabres need to be good out of the gate and be sustainable and be in the playoff mix all season. So I think to trade the 9th pick, the prospect pool is strong. Are any of the guys at 9 going to make your roster? Probably not. So I'm team trade the pick, and then like I said, I'll take the big defenseman if they can't find a partner to give some NHL ready help.
All right, Carl, what are your thoughts on draft day?
Yeah, just a high level on keep or trade. Again, everything should be on the table. Like, especially as fans, we want to make the playoffs. Adams, this better be his last shot. Like, everything should be on the table to make the team better. If I had my ideal world in making the team better, I would prefer to use the RFAs that we have and the prospects that we have, because there's just too many similar guys in the pipeline and existing in in the lineup right now. And obviously one is now gone, and JJ Peterka. So, we're kind of using that, technical pool of, call it, young guys and prospects that are small, speedy scorers or whatever.
And maybe not even necessarily ready for NHL play at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I rather leverage that resource in trades and keep the pick. And it's not like, so here's me as a fan and assuming Kevin Adams, like, do everything you can. There's also, frankly, a big part of me that's saying we're going to need to be good in 3 to 4 years. This is a team that's not made the playoffs, and the ultimate goal should be winning a Stanley Cup. And if we can't turn this into a cup contender next year, highly unlikely. I know we need to push for the playoffs first. We are going to need guys in 3 to 4 years. And not only that, like, I hate to say it, but what if this doesn't work? What if it doesn't work next year? Adams is ousted. What's going to happen to the team? And, like, unfortunately, we're going to need potentially prospects for that as well. So if I had my ideal world, I would probably keep it, use the resources that we have available to us right now instead of forcing guys up into the lineup and watching them leave or watching them, get buried and not thriving like Benson. I think we brought him up too early and now he's just kind of stagnant. Instead of doing that, use those resources to get better right now, get over the hump, get in there, and frankly, just keep something developed. And I would like to see something different other than, hate to, like, beat the dead horse here, small, speedy centers. Like, I would like to see something different, but, we're also at a point at a resource allocation perspective where we just have too much of that. Like, it's hurting us because everybody knows that's all Adams has to trade. And we now are obviously paying premiums for different types of players like Kess and Doan. So that's where I'm at. Like, I think you just need something else because that's all you got right now. And we're going to need something in a few years here. And I know it's kind of a bummer to say out loud, but, like, we're probably gonna need something. So yeah, if I had my ideal world, I rather leverage different resources than the 9 overall. And honestly, I haven't even done too much research on who we should take at 9 overall because I'm just not super excited about it because I want to win next year as a fan. But, like, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we'd rather be picking somewhere in the late 20s or even 30, 31, 32. And who do we have right here? So the Pittsburgh Penguins and Buffalo Sabres. Breaking news right here.
Not
from
really
Elliot Friedman. Well, maybe not really a break, but the Pittsburgh Penguins and Buffalo Sabres have reportedly held trade talks regarding the 9th overall pick as well as Brian Russ. And that's Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast from an insider chat right there. So, hey, you might see something happen with that later in this point today, folks.
All for it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That pick.
Yeah, I'm at the point where it's just like, you remember that part if you've seen Avengers Endgame, where they say whatever it takes to make the deals, whatever it takes to get the right people in the right place, you get the people who are going to make the team better now. And obviously, like, you still want to have some future pieces of that too, now and down the road. So, I mean, I hate to have it be kind of vague and generic, but I mean, if you're able to make your team better this right here, right now, there's no reason why you can't pull that off today, whether it is making that pick today or you're able to pull something off like Carl was saying with the already increased amount of small young forwards we have, as well as somebody like Byram or Samuelson, heck, even throwing Jack Quinn on there too, because he might even pop up in a trade just as far as like maybe a sweetener of some sort. But hey, anything can happen at this point, folks. So without further ado, we're going to kind of wrap things up. So when you'll see us next, folks, you'll see us on July 1st in the evening. We'll have, again, Joe Marino, formerly of the Charging Buffalo and Sabres Twitter, Sabres social media, on to join us, kind of do a little recap of what happened at the draft, as well as going over the initial waves of free agency that day. So again, like always, just feel free to tune in to us when we come on next. Thanks for tuning in now if you had the time to do so this afternoon, or you can find us on our next podcast. We'll kind of do like a little before and after segment of this, so you'll even hear the audio side of this next week too. So thanks, folks, for tuning in.
Thanks.
See you later, guys.
Go Sabres.